very easy to make an athlete tired, and it's very hard to make an athlete adapt. No one's going to want to listen to that.
Do you think people overcomplicate their training because
not enough people do enough? The art of coaching is problem solving. Power training, jump training is best done. People like to think is you're attached to a bike all day long.
Welcome to the Performance Room by Speeno, the podcast where we uncover what truly creates high performance in sport, business and life. Each episode I sit down with athletes, coaches and experts to explore the habits, lessons and mindset that actually make a difference, leaving you with practical ideas you can use straight away. Let's get into it. My first guest today is Sam.
Hello.
I wanted to get him on because he is an elite mountain bike coach who's got experience with online business and also creating a large online social media following. So, Sam, tell me a bit about yourself. Who are you?
Well, I'm a S&C coach for mountain bikers. I've had a weird background with essentially riding, strength sports, just all sorts of things training really. And I've ended up in a cool little niche, which 15-year-old me would be pretty gassed with. I used to love riding bikes as a kid. Went off to uni to study sport. Loved all things sport. And then, coached Olympic weightlifting for a while after competing in it, strength sports, powerlifting. And now we've ended up, full circle back coaching mountain bikers, which is kind of like a little passion project. So it's been a bit wild.
Sick.
Yeah.
How did you originally get into coaching? How did you know that was the route you wanted to go down?
Well, initially it was, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had 2 gap years after college because all I wanted to do was ride bikes and ski and do a ski season.
Yeah.
Went off to uni, after the 2 I went traveling for the second year. Had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was like, everyone's at uni, what do I like the most? I'll go do sports science with strength and conditioning. It was fairly accreditable. And then just got stuck into Olympic weightlifting whilst I was there. Just dove into all of that, and then outside of after uni, after we graduated, that was through lockdown, and I had a few mates that were sort of going into coaching. One of my good mates is a CrossFit coach. He got on with a business mentor, and I was like, how are you getting clients online? I want to know how to do it. And he linked me with this business coach initially, and I just did it. It was the first thing I thought to kind of do. And it's just ended up like this, which is kind of cool. So I thought I would get into it for the coaching side, but it turns out I'm not mostly, but a huge part of it is marketing, selling, running the business, and then coaching on the side as well. So it's not just
one thing.
Not just a PT role. So you have to, I got thrust into business.
Yeah. And then, so you originally started with strength and conditioning coaching. What was the reason you moved into specifically doing mountain bike coaching? Well,
it's kind of crazy. So I had all sorts of business mentors over the years, and one of them, I'll drop his name, Joe Parrish, he's awesome. He would always talk about just doing something that fulfills you. And I'd started out with powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting. I ended up getting long COVID off the back of it, and I was obsessed with that for the longest time. And I just ended up not being able to do it after getting long COVID and having all sorts of heart problems with it. Yeah. And I kind of fell out of love with training, so I built a business coaching predominantly people to compete in powerlifting, compete in weightlifting. And it wasn't, my mentor at the time was like, you've got to do something that you kind of love doing. And I kind of, I've been coaching a few riders. I meet Laurie as well. I've been coaching him for a while. Yeah. And I was like, why not make the jump? I saw that there was, a market for downhill racing coaching, enduro racing coaching, all things bikes. And I was like, I can fill this gap. I've built something, and it was actually quite a hard period in my life when you'd put so much effort into building something that doesn't work out for whatever reason. Yeah. And I know I loved the process of marketing, selling, doing business, and I just didn't love the area I was in. It wasn't me. So I'd always ridden bikes, and I was like, what, let's just dive into this, and ended up working out, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's sick. Now, looking back, what was the best decision you made early on with your coaching journey?
Early on, I would say probably my mates. I had a good group of mates. I think I was always, it's kind of an unconventional answer, but I think your environment massively shapes your performance. And the mates I had at uni, one of them, I was in powerlifting and then just took that fairly far. Got some good lifts, I was fairly competitive, but ended up getting injured. And then one of my mates was the one that introduced me into Olympic weightlifting, and that kind of started the whole there's other things I can train for outside of just trying to get a massive squat, bench and deadlift. And I think through them, that's kind of like opened my eyes to. So another one of my mates, Joel, was an incredible rugby S&C coach, and he's been amazing because I've kind of always been around the sort of S&C area, but he's been incredible at finding the mentors. So the mentor I joined on with, he was on him to start with. I've been through all sorts of like kilo strength educational courses. There's another one of our coaches, Dan Reeve, who I'm learning loads from at the moment with conditioning. Yeah. And it's all through mates and people you meet. So I think once you've got like an interest, I don't know if I've deviated from the question
you're good.
too much, but because I've had this interest in one area that I want to go through with, S&C for mountain biking, I've had all of these connections where I've found out how to, one of the best guys in the industry for conditioning at the moment, some of the best guys for strength development, plyometric development as well, and all these other people you can kind of learn off through links of everyone else. But to bring it back, I'd say the best thing for my business development was the people that I've met that have allowed me to, build myself into what I've been able to do, which is kind of cool.
So basically what you're saying there is that a big part of it is like the network that you have around you and the people you have around you. You mentioned having a mentor. How important do you reckon that has been so far for your business development and for someone in a position who wants to start doing coaching or is thinking that that might be something that they want to go down? How big of a difference does it make having a mentor compared to not? Because I presume there was a time where you didn't have one.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I think when you first start, you just kind of see the outlook of what other people are doing. And when I first started in, 2020, you can see other people just posting online and you're like, oh, I can do that. I can make some content. And then, I've got no clients, or like I've got very few coming through the door. So there's a lot more when it comes to business. And, mentors can be in the way of, people who are actually got an official business, or even your mates who are doing the same thing. Like just as you're going, towards something, being kind of like in the trenches with other people doing the same thing. Obviously, my mates are in different niches doing different things, but having them to bounce ideas off is huge. I would not be able to get to the point I've got to without the mates that I've had and without the mentors that I've got. I've got a guy called Dan Lambert on at the moment who's incredible. Just, my big part of it is obviously I like making content for Instagram and I love coaching. I love, dealing with athletes and helping them progress and solving problems for them. And I could spend all day doing that, but then, you need to run a business. You need to have people coming through the door. So he's been incredible at just helping with the back end of stuff like that. And I think I'm trying to get to places that I haven't been yet. So, learning from people who have already been there. It kind of, you either, there's a Hormozy quote, which is like, you either pay for lessons with time or experience, or time or money. That's it. So I could either spend the next 5 years banging my head against the wall, trying to get somewhere, or I could just pay that money to spend maybe 6 to 8 months learning, and then just, cut all of that time that I would have wasted in half.
Yeah. And do you find that, how do you go about finding your mentors? And have you found that, not to name drop them obviously, but have you found that there are ones that have made a massive difference and others where you've been like, I don't know if I've learned as much as I could have out of that, if that makes sense? Yeah,
for sure. I think it just comes down to finding the right people. The guy I'm with at the moment, he's incredible, and I do feel he's much more similar to me than the last ones that I've had. And I think, there's no perfect mentor for everyone. Like everyone's got their own person. It's like, you're going to learn when you're at school, like you have the odd teacher that, you learn the best of. Yeah. In terms of finding them, once again, going back to what's the most important thing for my business development has been my mates, because one of my other mates found this other guy and he introduced me to him and I listened to his podcast and I was like, oh, this guy's, you start to consume their stuff, what they're about. And then you're like, this is the guy for me. I'm going to, go and learn from this guy.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So now going into a bit more about what creates high performance, because obviously that's what you do. You're a coach for these elite level mountain bikers. So what do you reckon separates an elite athlete from everyone else?
Just being able to do the boring, repeatable stuff day in, day out. I think that's it. And everyone gets shiny object syndrome, especially in the mountain bike space at the moment. God, I could talk for days about it. But there's, I won't mention any names, but on Instagram, the things that do the best are the things that, look fancy or look like there's something new, and everyone loves a mountain bike specific exercise, which is one of my huge talking points on social media. Yeah. It's just, people get shiny object syndrome, chop and change program every sort of 2 weeks. The demands of, you need to know the demands of your sport you're doing. If it's downhill, it's, predominantly anaerobic. If it's enduro, you just need a crazy engine. It's just VO2 max.
Yeah.
Lots of anaerobic work going in there, and you need a huge base. And the general strength, the plyometrics, the athleticism is like the your athleticism, your resilience on the bike, how you move, and as long as you're building athletic qualities and just doing the things that just slowly compound over time, you're sweet. But if you are just changing your program every 4 weeks for the sake of it and just seeing something new, that's where you see people just crumble. Whereas the best guys have a process, they know it works for them, they find movements that work for them, they know how much volume they can take a week alongside their sport. They're getting lots of their sport in, and they're also getting lots of training in. So yeah, it's not getting shiny object syndrome, it's understanding what you need to do week in, week out, and just executing it. And that doesn't look like, people think of high performance as being able to cram so much into your week that you're just destroyed all the time, and it's really not the case. It's just doing enough that you can send a clear signal to your body as to what you want it to adapt to, and then repeat that every single week. And if you can't do that, your performance is going to decrease over time, and you're just going to end up absolutely cooked. So yeah, it's the hard part is the discipline for the repetitive things on the program, and that is not necessarily insane difficult hard work every single week. It's not like you're running a marathon every single week. It's just doing enough to get better.
And then interestingly, my next question was going to be about, do you think talent is overrated? But having said that, do you reckon specific individual is designed for like enduro or downhill, or do you reckon anyone with the right training can do either? Because for me at the moment, I've just got into the London Marathon, and the thing I'm getting
you want advice for your running?
The thing I'm getting the most is people are like, oh, you're too big for that. You've got the build of like a gym lad. You've got the build of a sprinter. You're not designed for. Bro,
Ross Edgley.
Yeah.
Look at Ross Edgley. Do you think he's built for being the first person to swim around Great Britain? I think, there's always anomalies to it, and you can always train towards a goal, whatever goal it is. There's better or worse ways to train, so you can accelerate progress if you're doing the right things and you're not just messing your program around. But equally, we're not all dealt the same deck of hands, the same deck of cards. Endless examples of just, two people go, my mate, he won't mind me talking about this. He's an incredible runner. He's an incredible CrossFit athlete, and he's done all sorts of stuff. But when we were competing together at Olympic lifting at uni, I'd respond to strength training super well. Like, I didn't get on a program, and I'd got up to my first, I went to max out back squat, got to 170 with minimal programming. Then got my first program, got that 170 to 210, and then hit a 220 low bar back squat when I was peak powerlifting before I got into weightlifting. My mate has gone through Soviet lifting cycles, intense, he took everything to the nth degree, bulked up 15 kilos, got a bubble gut on him, and barely was able to squat 1.7 times his body weight. So I think he got up to, heavier than me, he barely got to 160 kilos, I think around there. And yeah, to go back to that, there's people with that, with strength, with endurance, with plyometrics, with speed, with power. But I think with all of it, not letting that dishearten you, because what are you going to do? Some people respond better to something than other. You will have something that you respond better to with training. So you can either, think about with sports, what's it like the swimmer's body thing, where people don't get broad shoulders to swim. They swim because they've got broad shoulders. So you can just find your sport that you're best at, or you can think, fuck this, I want to go and train for this thing and actually train for it. And a lot of people don't play the bad genetics card when they just haven't stuck to a process for long enough to actually see the gains from it. If you're able to, I'd love to see a stat where, if you were to give someone a 3-month block of training and get them to, the goal is just tick 80% of those sessions off and just do that over 3 months. How many people out of 100 would do that? And if you are one of the people that is able to do that and have it, so you're not killing yourself every single week, you're getting, structured sessions in that are developing qualities that you need for your sport. If you're able to do that over 3 months, you will have good genetics by the end of it. You will feel incredible.
I also think that it's, as you said, it's an easy cop out, isn't it, to say, oh, I haven't got the genetics for it. But a lot of it is just the training. Do you reckon that for someone as a coach, you have to know what works for them and adapt it to their strengths and needs with their training? So for someone who might have more of be better at, let's say, power, do you need to work on their endurance more because they're better at the power, or do you have to adapt?
So with every athlete that we work with, we build a profile, an athlete profile. With them, you've got your conditioning system. So you've got aerobic capacity, threshold, VO2 max, anaerobic capacity, and lactic power. Those are your 5 energy systems. you want to kind of see where an athlete is weakest, and by attacking the weakest link, you build everything up, you bring everything up. So you're limited by your weakest link. So with that, it's very important to kind of see where an athlete does suck and, you know, actually train it. The art of coaching is problem solving, because initially you go through testing, program off data, and then with that is that you're giving your program, your athlete, your best guess towards, you know, something. You don't necessarily know how that athlete's going to respond to. You know, programming is a simple solution to a complex reality. There's so many other things going on in an athlete's life that, you know, they could go off and be like, you know what, I feel really sore, I feel really beat up. Like some people just can't handle volume at all. Some people just haven't built that sort of general fitness base. And then from there, you know, you have feedback, and then you kind of change it around. So you end up kind of finding it. And I think that is the art of coaching coaching an individual to be better. It's like you find where they suck at, and a lot of people kind of hide that and not. You can tell by, you know, if you talk about what have you done with your training and stuff like that. Have you tried this? You know, have you tried training like any like anaerobic intervals for example? If someone kind of winces at it, you know that they're probably avoiding it. Or like, you know, have you been out for your long zone 2? Like how much zone 2 are you getting in per week? And if someone's just like, I can't really be asked to do that, like, you know that's going to be a bit of a weak point. So to answer your question, it's very, very important to understand where an athlete does struggle and address it, because that will typically bring everything else up once you nail it.
Banging. And then last one in this section is, what is something you think elite athletes are doing that amateurs aren't within their training?
Like you said, just the boring stuff. Just doing the same thing week in, week out. Like programming doesn't have to be super fancy, super sexy. Even Laurie, we've had him on a very similar structure. He's a very high level rider racing at nationals. He just shows up and gets stuff done. He's incredible at just doing it. Like I've been coaching him for, 4-5 years now. And obviously we've been through so many different phases of training, but I barely have to talk to him. And like after, you know, I'll check in and be like, yeah, how's everything going? Yeah, good. And I'll kind of meet up with him. And then he's like, oh yeah, all of this was really good over this month. I tried all of these things. And he's got so much data on all of the programming, and I've barely needed to say anything because he's just shown up and done the thing. So you don't need to work necessarily harder on one-off session, but the discipline, the hard work is doing every single session. And it's something where, you know, I catch myself in it a lot at the moment. Like I've got a few training goals on, and it's like new kind of training modalities for me, trying to do some running and some squatting at the same time. And you kind of observe yourself after a little while, and you're just like, oh gosh, I've kind of, slacked this week or not done it. And once again, you don't have to go in, and I don't have to do an insane track session. I need to just go in, tick it off, and just do it, get the intensity in. And that is high performance. Just do that over a long period of time. You'll be way ahead of everyone else. But that's not going to sell on Instagram. It's like a brand new exercise or something like this. So it's not sexy, but just if you don't know how to program, get someone to do your program, and then just do the program. Just stick at it for a long period of time, and you'll be elite before long.
Yeah, banging. You said in one of your videos that people spend too much time trying to imitate mountain biking in the gym instead of training like a human. Can you explain that a bit more to me?
People like to think because you're attached to a bike all day long that you need to train like you're attached to a bike, but that's not how athletic development works. It's kind of missing the point. You need to just develop yourself as an athlete off the bike, for the bike, and to do that, you need your energy system. So it's whatever kind of riding you're doing, it's a cycling sport, is very conditioning dominant. So whether it's downhill, it's going to be more anaerobic. Whether it's enduro, it's going to be slightly more aerobic. And that looks like monostructural work. It doesn't look like circuit training where you're kind of messing up your stimulus you're giving your conditioning sessions, where you're just maybe spiking your heart rate to oblivion, doing some wall balls, some hang power cleans or something, then into like a rower, into this. And you just need to attack your energy system and give your body a very clear signal as what you want it to adapt to. And that is, the simplest thing. And then when it comes to general strength training, gosh, can't say my words. People are balancing around on Bose balls, trying to find like mountain bike specific movements, and people love instability, or talking about stability like a training quality. And a lot of these people can't bench their body weight or can't squat their body weight, and you're missing the point entirely. So you're always going to be unstable if you're weak. Like stability is just strength and coordination. So get stronger, do your sport. That's it. And everyone loves to train specifically for mountain biking, but in terms of training specifically for it, you're specifically training athletic qualities in the proportions that you need for your sport, not training specific movements that look like your sport.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, getting strong enough so you can absorb the forces. That looks like general strength training. Being able to meet the force demands or exceed the force demands of your sport, which is like plyometrics and ballistic training and moving incredibly fast. And training power properly, not putting it in a circuit, actually training to increase force output, increase jump height. Actually make sure your tendons are adapting, not, once again, balancing around on negotiables and treating your treating your body like you're always attached to a bike. So you're wanting to give your body stimulus to adapt at the end of the day. And you don't want to just copy what your sport's doing. Finding a very specific movement in the gym does a terrible job at training skill development, which you're getting on your sport, and does a bad job at actually giving you a real stimulus for strength adaptations. You're not exposing your body to that much force. You're not exposing it to force fast, exceeding the demands of your sport. So it looks good to the untrained eye, but you want to be a better athlete off the bike, for the bike. A great example of this, one of our riders we've got on at the moment, Hunter, is incredible. He's racing World Cup Enduro. He's unbelievably fast, and he's one of those guys that can just backflip anything on a bike and does all sorts of crazy techie things. And one of my clients already referred him on, and he was like, "Bro, you got to coach Hunter. He's a beast." Turns out he's got background of diving, and with that, it's a lot of jumping, moving your body in space, like rotating, and with that
proprioception.
Yeah, and there's another thing where a load of the top American Olympic lifter females, they've all got a gymnastics background, and that is just GPP to a T. Like you're just moving and you're just trying new things, and you're doing flips, somersaults, whatever, and that translates to the bike. So he's not been balancing on Bosu balls from a young age. He's been doing like loads of essentially jump training and like whatever, rotation spins in diving. And just being a better athlete. And then he does loads of his sport. So like if you're a better athlete off the bike, do loads of your sport, like you're going to have a way higher ceiling when it comes to skill development, lasting all day, not getting injured by stuff, being able to take slams and not get your ankles blown out. And that over time is going to amount to loads more bike time. You're going to be stronger for like hard impact. So when you are like absolutely sending it, when you do get to a really high level, like Laurie, like Seth, like Archie, some of the guys we've got on, you can handle what your sport has to throw at you. Whereas, if you're the sort of person that's just, I'm just going to dance around training a little bit. And do stuff that's low stimulus. I don't want to get injured by weight training or anything like this. And then you do come to having a big slam or anything on the bike. You get some riders that really do get some injuries, and it takes them off the bike for a long time. And some of them don't fully recover and don't rehab. So there's definitely something to be said about better athletes just recover faster, deal with more. So that's my qualms with mountain bike specific movements. By all means, if you want to get into the gym and you love balancing on a Bosu ball, and do like instability training or copy your sport in training, like do it, like go have fun. But long term, you're going to get smoked by the riders that are just training to be a better athlete.
And then you spoke about power a bit there, without giving away all your secrets. How would you program someone particularly for working on their power?
Explosive power. A couple plyometric sessions a week. Initially, if you're brand new to plyometrics, just building some volume and just doing them short ground contacts, building control, smooth rhythmic landings, not crash landing. And then with your upper body, moving weight fast, push pull variations, rotational variations. Just have fun with it. Like you don't need to, you're not like a shot putter. It's not like a specific demand where you're just like, training to throw something, particularly on a mountain bike. Like you are just, you're locked to a bike, you're riding a trail, but it's good to have that and, that higher ceiling of capacity in reserve. If you've got that, like, once again, if you're going down a techie bit of trail that surprises you on a race run, like, you don't know what you're going to be able to react to that you wouldn't have been able to react to before. And with all of the movements, just scaling them, keeping in the program, you're not like a basketball player where your entire focus is to be able to jump higher than everyone else. But once again, it's training your tendons, it's being able to move explosively and just being dynamic. Once again, like Hunter being a great athlete from his diving, it's just doing stuff that makes you generally a better athlete. That is better. But power, high rest, rest until you're ready. You're not training power if you're fatigued all the time throwing into a circuit. Once again, mountain bike specific movements love making everything feel like you're dying on a bike. But when you're training peak power, give yourself a rest, test your jump height, especially say if you've got a bounding broad jump variation, you've got, or even a broad jump to a vertical jump, you're testing it every single time, you're progressing what you can jump over. And, this is where power training, jump training is best done with a good environment with your mates. So you can, gamify how far you're going to jump, or, make it fun, because then you'll compete and you'll go further, and that will, massively help your results. But once again, it's not the main demand of downhill and enduro, but it's something that really, riders should take seriously and throw into their plan. And, it's one of those things that makes you feel like way better of an athlete on the bike for, those hard sections to track.
Yeah. And then for the listener who doesn't understand what plyometrics is, how would you explain them simply to
Simply, it's a way to make your tendons more elastic. So what you're essentially training is a stretch shortening cycle. So when you run, you bound, you jump, whatever, you're storing elastic energy in your tendons. I won't demonstrate it with my biceps. You're not really doing plyometrics with your bicep. But as you land, if you are able to jump off, so if you were to stretch an elastic band, if you were to release it straight away, you'll get that elastic recoil, and you get that out of your tendons. So if you're doing a run, jump, or anything like that, if you are able to store that elastic energy and then contract against it as you come back up, it's way more powerful. And that is essentially using the elastic energy from your tendons alongside the muscles. And that's, if you see, triple jump or high jump in the Olympics, imagine you had a really thin rubber band in your tendon right now, like one of those little ones at school you'd ping stuff with. It's like, it kind of loses its durability after a while, and especially when you're running, that's all tendon. Like if you're sprinting, it's mostly tendon. And well, not mostly tendon, but like your tendons are doing a load of the work. If you were to get 10 of those elastic bands together and you were to make them really rigid, like a stiff, bouncy ball, suddenly, once again, it's like throwing a hacky sack down a runway versus like one of those like super bouncy balls that just bounces forever. So that's essentially what you're doing. And for riders, think of it like upgrading your body suspension when you're riding down a track is a good way to kind of refer to it.
And by doing that also, by building up your tendon strength and everything, you'll help with injury prevention and things like that, because obviously mountain biking, you'll have big crashes and things. If your tendons are, like you were saying, a thick elastic band compared to a thin elastic band, they're going to respond a lot better to the crash than someone who hasn't been doing those plyometric work.
It's that, and your bone density as well. All the impacts are, absorbed through your muscles, through your tendons, through your bones. So your bone density is going to benefit massively. And mountain biking is a sport of just handling, absorbing impacts, whether you want to or not, on the bike or off the bike. So every rider will relate to that, coming up short on a landing, doing all of these things. And once again, there's a lot of enduro riders that just love to go out for zone 2 rides all the time, and they don't worry about any of this stuff. But the amount of impacts that you're dealing with on some long rides, like if you're able to just absorb it and deal with it, once again, you're going to get way more bike time in at a higher performance as well. So you're going to get better at your sport as a byproduct.
Banging. So
there you go.
Do you think people overcomplicate their training because simple isn't exciting? You were saying about the silver golden toy that people see on social media, Instagram, like presenting it in a certain way, whereas what you're describing isn't necessarily the exciting training. Well, exciting, I say that in inverted commas, but do you think that's what the main difference is? People like doing these adventurous exercises because they look fancy, but they overcomplicate it because it's not actually what you need in your training.
Well, that's it. It just comes back to athletic qualities, what you're training for. Like if you want some higher sprint output, you want to sustain higher watts in the pedals. If you're able to add 30, 40 kilos to your box squat, and you're able to stay consistent with some zone 2 and then some repeat sprintability training, and increasing your max watts through lactate sprints, you're going to be way better than someone who's just copying something on Instagram because it looks nice. And I think it all comes down to like what if you can't say what the adaptation you're after from the training program. It's like you're missing the point. And once again, like this stuff takes time, especially for Olympic weightlifting and going back to a lot of that stuff. If you're just purely thinking about strength development, there's some lifters that it took me a year to add 10 kilos to my snatch. I know that's completely not related, but these things take time. And if you're constantly changing your program, it's like, what are you adapting to? Like if you're balancing around, like you're not increasing your leg strength, you're not increasing your anaerobic capacity, you're not increasing your VO2 max, and you need to just consistently give your body a signal as to what you want it to adapt to, and you want those qualities that are specific to your sport to develop. And once again, if you're just training, anti-rotation of your core, what's another popular talking point at the moment? Stabilizing your shoulder with rear delt flies and stuff like this. Like, that's all great, but like there's someone out there who's training to get an insane VO2 max. They can box squat like well over double their body weight, and their watts over sort of like a 30 to 60 second duration is just mind blowing. That person's going to win every single time over someone who's just like, oh, I'm going to try this next program, I'm going to try this next thing.
Yeah.
Gains take a long period of time. Like, you're jacked. You know how long that took you to get jacked. Yeah. You were training for one thing at a time. Like, you're just training to build muscle, and like, everyone loves a 4-week program. It's not the case. Like, it is, it's a few years. Like, if you have a system that takes you over, 1, 2, 3 years. That was the Kilo strength course that I went to Amsterdam with my mate. They've got a strength system that periodizes athletes for like 10, 15 years. Yeah. So how does that program look? It goes from like linear periodization to wave load, linear to undulating to wave loading, and all this stuff is so complicated just in a way to get athletes to develop one specific quality at a time. Yeah. And if you're swapping your program, it's like all of the things that people invest thousands into in terms of athletic development, like you're bypassing all of that and just training something for the vibes. Yeah. So it's completely different.
And the big thing I've noticed particularly is because obviously I've been going to the gym for a while. One would look at me.
I'd hope so. Yeah. More jacked than me and train half the time.
But people look at you and presume like I'm athletic, I'm good at running. As I said, it's marathon training. I'm useless. I am useless at running. Just because you do one thing in the gym with one thing, like you focus on one thing for a certain amount of time, like, yeah, it doesn't pass over. I wish it did. I wish my bench press would help me with my 5K time, but it really
can't run on your hands.
It really doesn't. But I think as you said, it like now I'm having to focus a lot on my running, obviously, but trying to balance it all at the same time. I've been trying to program myself running, lifting, and then trying to work on all these things at the same time. It's like almost impossible to cram it all in. Yeah. So I think I think this is what you're saying, is you need to like focus mainly on one thing at a time, like building blocks almost.
It's very easy to make an athlete tired, and it's very hard to make an athlete adapt. So you need to understand, what you're giving yourself as an athlete. So say if you're running like VO2 max intervals, we know that those take 3 days to absorb. And then if you're doing heavy strength training, if you're doing like a heavy back squat, sometimes they take, depending on the intensity, can take like 6 to 10 days to absorb, a heavy back squat session. If you're someone like yourself, you want to be running fit, you want to be, lifting fit. If you're throwing everything together into a week, you're just getting tired, you're not adapting. Like, you're not able to repeat and scale everything that's on the program. So the biggest thing is if anything's important to you, stays in the program year round. We just turn up and down the dials and what we need for that, stage of training that we're doing. Quality stack. So right now, I've got some fairly decent Olympic weightlifting numbers still. I've fairly got some good strength numbers. I've got some good running times. I've not got that by training everything at the same time. I've done one thing specifically and kind of maintained something else. And then I've gone into the next thing and I've kind of maintained the other thing. So, if you're someone that wants to be hybrid nowadays, the big hybrid trend is just, I'm just going to squat unbelievably heavy, I'm going to bench heavy, I'm going to go for a run. And athletes are just getting knackered and they're not adapting. So understand the phase that you're in, think longer term. So this goes down to the elite performance. It just comes down to discipline, following the thing that you said you were going to do. Because if you messy it and you just train everything all the time, you're just going to get tired, you're not going to adapt. So right now, maybe you've got 2 weeks, right, I've not done much running. I'm just going to have the goal to just build to, in more volume over the course of a running week, and that's it. And I'm just going to go into the gym for maybe 1 to 2 sessions, just maintain everything. From there, maybe I'm going to go into some harder running off the back of that, and I'm going to try and increase some like threshold runs, increase my 5K time. And then, you're still going to maintain what you're lifting. And then maybe the block after that, you're just going to maintain what you've built with, your aerobic capacity, your threshold, and then you're just going to go back into a strength block so you can, keep your beach muscles, not completely die out. So once again, your body can handle all of that one thing at a time. But if you were to put all of those phases of training together, you're going to be knackered, you're going to be burnt out, and that's where athletes get it wrong. They think they're training hard and they're suffering towards a goal, but once again, the best athletes aren't working harder than you. They're just working a lot smarter, and they're able to do enough. It's very easy to overtrain. How easy can you, if I was to get you to go rip a max deadlift right now and get you hyped up, it's not, it's going to be hard, but it's not going to feel like hard work. So we're going to be like, this is amazing. But in 10 days time, you're going to be feeling crap. Whereas if I got you to do, keeping it on the deadlift, if I got you to go and do, a 5x5 at like 70%, and you just walk out the gym, bearing in mind, well, you've probably got a base of lifting already, you're going to be able to go and do that next week, and you're going to be fine. And then you can add up onto that. So, it's very easy for athletes to cram everything into their week and think they're motivated and train hard, and then they're not able to repeat the week. So one of the big things for that, whatever's on your program, if you can't repeat it at least 2 to 3 weeks in a row and get better at it, it doesn't have a place in your program, or you've just crammed too much. So yeah, it comes down to stacking qualities, doing one thing at a time, phasing your training, however you like. There's so many ways to train. You don't have to focus on one thing, or no, there's not like one done thing for everyone. There's 101 ways to skin a cat. So just figure out, what you want and then map back to it. And that's the art of programming. It's fun.
And I think also there comes a point where you see on these like social media and you'll see someone with massive muscles, absolutely running ridiculous times. And you presume they're training like 4 hours a day, doing like 2-hour cardio session, 2-hour gym session, eating 500 grams of protein and then sleeping 12 hours. There's not enough time to do all that in a day.
No.
Like you realise you've got to actually focus on that, what the bit you want to grow for that time. And then if I neglect the gym for the next few months whilst focusing on my running, it's not going to take, I'm not going to lose much at all I'll probably maintain, and it's not going to take me long to put it back on either. So
no.
You may as well just focus on the one thing at a time.
Hard to build, easy to maintain, as they say. Once you've built it, you can keep it fairly easily.
Yeah.
And also with all these guys that are looking incredible on Instagram, a lot of them have spent years in bodybuilding and then go into doing ultra training, and then they get shredded and everyone's like, oh my gosh, they've, their training's doing this. It's like, no, they've just done bodybuilding.
Yeah.
They've got into endurance running. Yeah. So yeah, completely different.
And then the last question for this section is, if you were designing a gym program for 90% of athletes tomorrow, what would your non-negotiables be?
Not enough people do enough structured strength and structured conditioning. So non-negotiable would be just build structure, build repeatability. That's the main thing. And then make sure that there's a very specific signal in the program. And it's not just random with random movements. Once again, this is kind of a very hard question because, I don't know if everyone wants to, build. Typically, guys will just want to build a massive upper body. Girls want to build their legs. Obviously, riders want to have, better durability, better specific strength and speed and power for the bike. So it's all very different. But yeah, the main thing would just be building, having a week that they can repeat and scale. It seems so obvious, but no one does it. Like everyone just does a week of training. They're like, oh, I'm feeling pretty tired now. I'm not going to do the next one, or like I'll have a little rest and then I'll go back into the next one. And their progress just stalls because they're basically over, the course of a year, they're having 6 months off because they're training hard one week and resting the other week. So yeah, the main thing would just be, if you were to look at the program, you'd get a very clear signal as to what that program is trying to deliver the athlete.
So the next section is on recovery. So talking about what your athletes do to recover and anything you found with your recovery throughout your years of training. Has your opinion on recovery changed over the years?
Not really, because I guess when I was at uni and I was just doing loads of strength sports and lots of random stuff, like my recovery would just be being hungover after the back of a night out, and even sometimes not that. I hit some of my best PRs after the back of a night out, and just we'd be going out drinking all the time. That was just the done thing at uni. But just do less. Everyone's so obsessed with like recovery rides or doing the having an ice bath, sauna or anything like that. It's just chill out. I think the big thing is understanding yourself a little bit better, so you actually know what chills you out. And I think for me, one thing on my rest days is I would, if I've had a big training day, I would then go into some pretty mind-numbing work stuff as well, and that also has a fatigue cost. Sometimes you can't get away from that, like you've got to do stuff within the business. But yeah, just actually relaxing, find what actually chills you out, what just like drops your cortisol and allows you to just tap back into enjoying life a little bit more and not just being so stressed about everything. And, jumping in a sauna, jumping in an ice bath, foam rolling non-stop, just do nothing.
Yeah, I think that is a good point, because a lot of what happens in the fitness industry is that the recovery becomes almost as much of a mission as the training, and you feel like you have to do your ice bath every morning and then have a sauna like for however long every day, and then doing your half an hour stretching every day. And then, as you were saying with the training stuff, if you're not going to stick to it for a week, you're not going to stick to it for 3 weeks. So you've got to have something that you actually want to do, that you'll fit into your life and fit in around your training, rather than just bombard yourself thinking you're going to have to do X amount of ridiculous recovery and then squawk yourself out doing the recovery. You don't want to be tired after your recovery because you've done so much recovery. Like, makes no sense.
It's the Angus Bradley thing, wanking an app. That's the ultimate recovery protocol, wanking an app.
So my next question is, what are things people should stop doing with their recovery immediately, do you reckon? Just
overtraining. It is that simple. Just focus on your sleep. Like, actually watch your sleep. If you've got one of these little Garmin things. They're amazing.
Or the old Whoop.
Actually, just track your consistency of your sleep. Do the whole God, what's the guy's name? Matt Walker. Go to bed at the same time. Wake up at the same time. You know, don't just messy up your sleep schedule too much.
Yeah.
I am crap at that. Or mine is way too late at the moment, so I work late. I'm such a night owl. And then just stop going on recovery rides and slamming ice baths and sauna and calling it training. It's just the same points that everyone will talk on in terms of the fitness industry. But it's so simple. There just doesn't need to be a topic on recovery. Just do less. If you can't recover, you're either training too hard, your nutrition's crap, like you're just not eating well, you're underfueled, and you're just doing too much. A lot of people love I'm just gonna go out for like a little recovery ride today or whatever, and then they end up just going out for like a 60-minute ride and then wonder why their just like interval session feels crap, their strength session feels crap. Yeah, just do less. Do less.
I find it is really hard to just do a zone 2 or zone like 1 recovery. Like staying in that low zone, especially when you're doing something you want to do or something you love, it's so hard. Like, because for me personally, I like pushing myself. Then I go on a run and I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a gentle one. And then you feel like you may as well be walking, and then you end up looking at your thing at the end and realising you've done zone 3, 4 and you haven't recovered. Yeah. So I think that's a very good point.
A little static mobility is always nice. No one does enough of it. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
And I just train until something goes and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to rehab this now, or do something to it. But yeah, just a bit of mobility after your sessions. I'm a big fan of just moving through range under load, just finding some accessory that does my mobility at the end of the session. Sorry, you're getting a fly on you.
It's all right.
So annoying. Said we're gonna get Ian here.
It's all right.
But yeah, it's as simple as that. Do less. If you've got a huge recovery protocol, you're probably doing something wrong because you're just throwing so much stuff into your program that you just don't need.
Yeah, and I think also with the talk about like the mobility and the static mobility, a lot of people also think they need to be doing like an hour's long stretching or like half an hour stretch. If you just put in 10 minutes on top of what you're already doing, because like research has shown recently that you actually almost get as much strength mobility gains by doing weighted exercise as you do from doing static like stretching. So but when you're doing a chest press, for example, you're stretching your pecs through basically full range. So the mobility work you should be doing, I don't know if you agree with this, but the mobility work you should be doing is those specific movements like your external rotation of your like shoulder, because when are you ever pushing your wrist out to the side really in your actual training? So it's things like that you should be doing rather than thinking, you know what, I'm going to do loads of lying on my back with my hamstring in the air, leg in the air, stretching out my hamstring. Because if you do an RDL, if you do an exercise like that, you're stretching out your hamstring.
You're making the range useful is the main thing. You get from static stretching, you get like a temporary pain relief for a lot of it, which is still useful to do, and you absolutely should still do a lot of it. But yeah, having accessories like I'm a big fan of throwing in a Cossack squat or something like that. Is just something to challenge hip mobility, or you can do like a band assisted pancake where you're just moving in and out of range like actively. Loaded deep squat sits I'm a big fan of, or just doing some high rep squats with a couple second pause in like a wider stance that you're used to with a barbell on your back, and then you're forced to try and get into the position that your body just hates, and it's kind of gross. And you can even do active holds. You can do like an active split hold for a couple sets of 30 seconds. Back bends as well is something I need to do. I suck at them, but taking your back through like as much extension as you can possibly do and holding that position. And yeah, there's small things like that where you're actually using the range as opposed to just kind of holding it there and not. So
it makes it a bit more fun, doesn't it? It's like stretching isn't really thought of a fun and glamorous thing to do, but there are ways you can make it feel less like stretching than it is perceived, really, because
you also get a hypertrophy response from static stretching because it plays into mechanical tension in terms of hypertrophy. So what's it? Metabolic stress, muscle damage, and mechanical tension are the three. I hope I got those right. 3 principles of muscle of hypertrophy. So a little practical example is if you're doing some like bicep curls at the end of the session, you can just go and do like a lat stretch, pec stretch, or something like that, and you are playing into one of the principles of hypertrophy. So technically, you can get a little bit more jacked whilst you're doing an accessory.
First. You get jacked from yoga.
There you go. But and like you are holding positions as well, and that's another example. Just like I love doing this with accessories at the end because it's so having the willpower to go and do mobility is hard, and like yoga is hard. That's when no one wants to do it because you've trained, you've done a hard session, and then you're doing more hard stuff on top of it. It's like, I don't want to do that. So having an exercise that I can just kind of superset in, like one of those deep squat sits, like a Cossack, like a pancake, a duck to stretch, or anything like that, alongside doing something that I would do, some like bicep curls, skull crushes, bench press, any sort of accessory movements that I would be doing, you can superset that with some stretching.
Yeah, banging.
Little practical example.
So then the next section is obviously you've got your business, run your business, and your social media with your, like, I think I stalked it yesterday, 15.8 thousand followers.
Yeah, it's starting to go again. I had a year of plateauing with it, but oh gosh, yeah, it's not all about followers, but it is nice. It's a nice metric.
It's nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did your coaching grow into the business it is now? Because obviously it started, like, I presume with like local people, and now you're doing it for international people. How did it, obviously that's a big question, but how did it scale in that sense?
Yeah, well, I worked in a gym for, the first part through lockdown, so they barely give me any hours, which is horrendous. I had a few coaching clients from there. And that's where it wasn't the best gym or gym environment, and the people that ran it were a nightmare. The staff turnover was huge. I'd done lots of, in-person coaching sessions with like mates through uni, through, obviously in your coaching modules, you have to do that. And then I was doing a load of sessions in the gym, and I was taking like, bums and tums classes, that's the one, or whatever. And I just knew that, it wasn't the one. So either way, my mate got into, coaching online, and I was like, okay, here's how to do this. And then through that, once again, you just kind of see other people in the industry doing stuff and observe other people's content, see what's doing well. And, you put your own spin on stuff. And I've got my way about training, the things that are, principles about training that are very important to me that I want to pass on, and then putting that in like an entertaining spin. So just messing around. It's been a long process. I think I've got over 1,500 posts now on Instagram, which is ridiculous. And I feel like I've just failed my way through doing it. There's a lot of, if you scroll right back, there's a lot of shock, isn't there? There's some really bad, bad content. But I've made some good ones over the years, and you can see the ones that do well, and you're like, oh, people like this talking point or whatever. And yeah, just doing it like that. I think
learning from it.
The big thing is just trying to be yourself, stop copying other people. As also if people are copying yours, you're doing something right, because a lot of people like to copy formats, copy this, whatever. But I think just staying true to, like, you can see what formats are doing well, but just being yourself, putting your own content out there. I feel like I'm really not good at speaking on camera enough as I should do, and I like to curate stuff, and that's my next sort of evolution with it. I'm going to try and get a bit better at being on camera and doing some of that stuff. But it's the whole point of it is to get people to know, like, love and trust you. And that's the main thing. And you only get that by really sort of stating your opinions, being about something, which for me within the mountain bike industry has been essentially GPP, general physical preparation for mountain biking, as opposed to people just going and doing cardio training and balancing around. Yeah. So I've stood my ground on that, and that's really benefited me. So there's no two identical, strategies for creators in terms of like their story. Like, you are your own person, you've got your own story. So just put it across, be yourself, have fun. Yeah. That's the principles I'm trying to go by anyway.
Yeah, and I think another big thing that I've noticed recently is that if you script yourself too much, like, don't get me wrong, you need to know what points you want to make and be scripted, but if you script yourself too much, it almost takes your personality and takes you out of it. And then you're clearly reading something or clearly like trying to recite it. And then you can't speak like yourself. People want to see.
Turn into a robot.
Yeah. People want to see you being you when you're like speaking what you're passionate about. So.
Well, yeah, you've seen all the, I love going underneath comments and seeing, the first thing I look for if I see like an AI video is the comment being like AI slop. And it so is the case that there's so much AI stuff out there, and especially with coaches, like nowadays, everyone's trying to build a business and wants to, there's ways to use AI to like help you with your content and, fact check stuff and help it flow and, whatever. But just be the human being behind the camera. I went up for the guys K.Speed, Chris Speed, unbelievably good athlete, coach. I think he's like a rugby, basically does like lots of plyometric sprint training and weightlifting. And we're having this conversation. Yeah, there's so much AI out there, and no one wants to see it. Like, people want to see other people. It's social media. Like, I want to go and see Speeno. I want to see your content. Like, I don't want to, if I go on content, I'm like, oh, here's how you do this for recovery, this. I'm going to switch off straight away. And same, like, I've had a few where, I've got some complex talking points over, some, how to integrate a lot of conditioning, year round to keep yourself progressing with like plyometrics with strength and lots of complex talking points that I want to get right. And obviously I've written a script out, and some of those posts just don't do well because you can tell that I'm a robot. Whereas if I've got a clear talking point, there's, one or two things, and I'm, and it's just me, and I'm like, do this thing. And I've got a bit of, personality behind it. It really is that simple. And I think people gloss over it because they're like, oh, I want to get loads of posts out. I want to have the best post with like AI and, just riding the AI train. And it's not the case. Just have fun. The more fun you have, this is one thing I've really experienced. If I make a post from a place of I need to post today versus if I make it from, I'm buzzing about this idea, I'm just going to mess around and do this thing. Those are the ones that pop off. Like I made a meme initially that got, oh gosh, what was the first one? I was bashing mountain bike specific training. Got 600K, I got like over 1,000 followers from it, from me just doing a whip with a barbell, taking the mick about like the theory behind mountain bike specific training. And I did a whip with a barbell, and then it cut to me doing a whip in Morzine. 600K, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I put this like crazy in-depth like conditioning periodization, strength periodization, which is like, a lot of the stuff that I spent years learning, and people are like, oh, whatever, can't be asked to watch this, because I'm boring in it, I'm not selling it. But yeah, it really is just having fun, putting yourself out there. It's still lessons I'm learning. I'm by far from perfect. There's a lot of stuff that I still fuck up today, but yeah, you just got to keep learning the same lesson till you get it right.
Was there a moment that everything changed in like with a big turning point where it went from, this is just me doing my little thing, to being like, wow, this might actually go somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's when content started popping off and I got my first big batch of like US clients through. I think my content just did really well in America. I had some in Australia, some in Argentina. I still feel like a baby in the industry. There's some days where I feel super advanced and I'm like, oh, I know so much. God, I'm so far ahead of where I was. And then there's some days where I'm just like, what am I doing? Like I know nothing. There's so much I need to know with like business, marketing, even coaching. Like there's the more, what's that curve called? Where when you first start out something, you think you know everything. Dunning,
I know
something.
The one about.
God, it's gonna kill me not knowing that. But either way, I feel like I'm climbing my way back up the line.
Yeah.
Like I've spent so long learning stuff with training, and I think a lot of it just, you relearn old lessons because there's just so much to learn, and a lot of it just comes back down to like matching theory with the practical application of your clients and the athletes that you're working with. And then same with business. And bits like that, just learning off my mentor at the moment. I'm just like, there's always more. There's always more. So one of my old mentors said, starting a business is the best personal development tool that you'll ever build, because there's no hiding from stuff. Like if you haven't done, any work for content, all the boring stuff behind the scenes, like managing your systems and managing your energy, and there's so many different. You have to be so good in so many different areas. You can't just, I can't just be a really good mountain bike coach.
Yeah.
Like there's a load of coaches out there that are obviously great coaches, but they have no social media presence. So they don't have access to a lot of the clients out there that will want their service because they've not learnt all the bits that go along with it. So sorry, I've gone off on a huge tangent there.
No, that's all right. I also think on that point is with you being, because there's a massive thing about personal brand and all this stuff at the moment, and with you, with your coaching, you're selling basically yourself really. And it's, you have to be the one posting the videos, making the videos, doing the coaching, doing everything yourself. With other, like starting a business, you can employ the person who does the social media, you can employ so I think as a coach, it is hard to do it all, because you can't have someone else making your videos, because then when someone signs up, they'll be like, well, I want to see the guy who's making the videos, not you, if that makes sense.
One of the first mentorships I was in, there was a site called, is it Fiverr? And you basically get like a Filipino to come in and do your DMs and handle your DMs. And it's like the stupidest thing ever, because that's where you're building trust with people. Like you're conversing with people who don't know you yet. And you're just talking to people, helping people out, just being a nice human being, getting your name out there. And if you have a Filipino doing your content, so there's obviously...
They're going to want him, not you.
Yeah, I know. What do you want him? Like, what is this broken English coming at me? So there's definitely, there's definitely ways to outsource and like grow your business. But I think a lot of it, I'm very happy doing a lot of my own stuff. And I think having someone else in there for bits of it. Obviously, down the line, if you grow enough, like you will need, get extra coaches on, get other people helping out. But it is a lot of places been on your own, but I think, when I'm still only relatively a baby in the industry. I've been in it for 2 years now. Officially, technically from my page being in it after still been coaching for the best part of 8-9 years. But I still feel like I've got to just, do all the bits myself for now.
I also think it's nice to learn it yourself. So then if you do want to outsource it, you still know how to do it. If you go and then get someone else to do it straight away, then you don't know what they're doing. You don't
know how to coach them.
Exactly.
You still got to coach them how to do the role.
Yeah, exactly. If you started on 0 followers tomorrow, everything's gone, what would your journey be to back where you are?
Part of that thought actually kind of excites me, because I feel once you've established yourself, you have this kind of not fear of losing everything, but you're just trying to be professional or whatever. But I feel if I started from 0, I would be controversial about the things that I care about. Number one, if there was a point that I really want to hammer home, I would have fun. I would get myself out there. I would be frequent posting. I wouldn't overthink everything. I would just throw stuff up. That's the biggest thing I've messed up with. I've messed up with it so many times. There's posts that I've done that have gone amazingly well that I've spent 20 minutes making. That barbell whip, the best post I've pretty much ever done.
Yeah.
I went to the garage and just filmed myself messing around, clipped it together, posted it, barely any caption, and kicked off. But it all comes down to having fun making content. I still don't feel, there's so many more people out there doing way better than I am. I've still got a way to learn. And I think a lot of that stuff that I would do if I was to start at 0 is stuff that I need to do now. So get myself out on content more frequently. Have better energy when you're making content. I think it's not just about the message, it's the messenger as well. And you could have the best message in the world, which a lot of my pieces of content, I've spent so long curating these messages that I know would have done well, but then the messenger is fucking knackered. I'm up there, in my room filming content or trying to find a good backdrop, and I'm just there if you want to do this, and no one's going to want to listen to that. Even if I'm making the most groundbreaking training point ever, people want to listen to someone who's got a bit
invested.
Think of all of the brain rot content that's out there, and the person's just having fun fucking around. They're doing amazingly well. So that's definitely what I would recommend to everyone. Just understand, you're creating your content, you've got everything there, just have fun, have a bit of energy. People don't want to scroll through social media and get bored. They want to be entertained by whatever. And if you can mix that in with training knowledge or whatever your thing is, and have fun, that's the golden trifecta or whatever.
Yeah. And then lastly on this business and social media part, your girlfriend's in Australia.
Oh yeah.
So how obviously having an online coaching business stuff means you can go over there and do it over there. How does it affect you being over there compared to doing it over here? Is it I guess what I'm asking is the idea, everyone thinks I'll be an online coach, I can work anywhere, I can do it anywhere, is that the case for you?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not go travel and just go off traveling, because I've had a few times where I've been off traveling, you've been so busy with other things, and there's the old client that maybe you're not giving it enough time to or whatever, and you do get people that kind of slip out. You need to be doing your job well. And over the years, I have had that's the really hard thing about first starting, because you can't. There's so many roles to do, and especially when you first do it, everything takes you way more time. I had 5 clients on it. It would take me a whole day to do 5 programs. At the moment, I'm doing 30 odd programs every single week, just for one-to-one guys. And I can do that so much faster and actually look after people. So, with traveling and going around with the business, I think the big thing for me, why I've come back home and left my girlfriend over in Sydney, is to be out on the bike and be riding, because I didn't bring my big bike out. So for me, within my niche, that was hard. If you're a CrossFit coach or something like that, my mate came down to Sydney and he had a CrossFit box that he was lifting out of, and he could film all his content there, which is great. I managed filming with a lot of my content. I would use clips from my clients, use some old recycled mountain bike clips. So I've kind of gone through a lot of my mountain bike clips at the moment. Coming back home has been great to obviously ride, get some more clips, but that's it's not fully necessary. I can just sit and talk great coaching points on camera. So you absolutely can do it. There's definitely ways to do it. There's just, for me, if I will be going back out after summer. I'll be bringing my bike out, and there's going to be trails over there. So that should be good. But yeah, mountain bike niche, maybe traveling from everywhere is quite good to be traveling to places. Everyone that mountain bikes, they love riding. So a lot of people are just going to be traveling for riding. So yeah, if I've got my bike there, that makes content a whole lot easier. Otherwise, it has been a little bit of a challenge for, the best, over half a year in Sydney with, not too much riding.
Just a line bike.
I brought my hardtail over, so I was ripping that around. Yeah, not the best.
All right, perfect. And then the last little section is performance quick fire questions. So what is one exercise every athlete should master?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with a power clean here. I'm biased to it. I've obviously spent a bunch of years competing in Olympic weightlifting. It's close to my heart. I love the exercise. I think one of my mates actually, he'd say if there was one exercise he could do for the rest of his life, it would be a clean. It was like a thruster, I think it is, or a cluster, where you do a clean, you catch it, and then you stand up into an overhead press. It's like full body strength. But I think something with a power clean, I think why I've gone with an Olympic weightlifting derivative, there's a lot of riders out there who are enduro riders who, have a good engine, go all day. Obviously that is the most of the demand, but they just fall apart doing anything athletic. You get them to jump, like sprint, hop, none of them can do, lift that much weight. Obviously there's exceptions to the rule. There's Richie Rude, obviously the top athletes are absolute freaks, but talking about more like low level guys who are hobbyists, they will just avoid the weights room like the plague. But yeah, power clean, strength, speed, power, mobility, coordination, absorbing force is a very unique stimulus. It looks awesome. It's something you can go into the gym and just rip with your mates. It's a real athletic lift, and I think it's just it ticks a lot of boxes for me. It's not necessarily, you don't have to do it for everyone, but I think if you're to go into the gym and do a block of weightlifting and rip some power cleans, I think it does something to your mind in terms of how you understand training and just the enjoyable side of training. Also, that's kind of a crap one because a lot of mountain bikes are mashed collarbones, so can't do it. So I don't know, maybe for people who have healthy collarbones, I'd rip something like that.
All right, next one, you ready? One exercise you'd remove from every athlete program. Obviously, that's a very broad question, but is there like an exercise that you think, why are you doing that?
Boseable split squat, or boseable plank, or boseable single leg squat. Anything that's like instability training is the most ridiculously sold thing. I don't think that's in everyone's program. I don't know if that's a good answer. I think the best answer is I'd remove the junk. Like every exercise in your program has got to have a place. Like if you're doing something and you don't know why, it doesn't have a room in the program. Everything you do think of your energy for adaptation as like a pie. And everything you do takes a slice out of that pie. And you want to make sure most of that pie is adapting to the thing that you need for your sport. And if you aren't, and you've got junk volume in there, you're just taking away from everything else. So just make sure that your program does what it says on the tin, and make sure the exercises that you do are there for a purpose, and you're not just wasting your time. So I'd say that's such a cheat answer. Just remove the one that is not doing the thing that you need, basically.
Well, it's true though, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one, I think you might have already answered, but biggest mountain biking myth. I was thinking about your
mountain bike specific movements.
The one he hates.
I think that's it. Yeah. And I think that you need to train. Yeah, you need to train specifically for it. I know I've answered this so many times, but you don't need to be like a mountain bike human hybrid. Like the word mountain bike specific, it gets thrown around loads, and it really is just making yourself like the athlete.
Skin cool.
Yeah, but it just misses the point. It's like anyone that does mountain bike specific movements is not going to be able to squat, jump high, run fast, do all of these things, like, even have like high watts over short durations or whatever, or high aerobic capacity over longer durations. Whereas anyone that is training these actual physical qualities, like, your actual conditioning, strength, speed, power, mobility, and you're just training those off the bike, and then you take it to the bike where you're going to be, training a little bit less over summer, you're going to be just honing in the few things that you need and race peaking. If you have spent the off season, becoming a more effective human being, you can handle more force, you can produce force insanely fast, you're unbelievably fit over short durations and long durations, you're going to smoke anyone that's balancing around in the gym or trying to chase a movement. Once again, if you like doing that, fair enough. Like, everyone train, some activity is better than nothing, but if you're wanting to be an unbelievable athlete and get the most out of your sport and actually feel incredible on and off the bike, and not just train to be a better athlete, essentially. Just don't ignore all of the specific stuff.
Yep. All right. Then, similar to the last one, What's the biggest fitness industry myth?
The biggest fitness industry myth?
I was thinking earlier, you were saying about people thinking you have to train loads all the time and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Like the people that are better than you are training so much harder than you.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the main one. Yeah, I think you need to just train hard all the time. Like you don't need to train hard all the time. And I think the beauty of understanding programming, everyone's like, when I first started training, even when I was doing S&C at uni, I was like, I don't need to listen to these lecturers. I can back squat more than them. I can bench more than them. Part of my mind, like as a lad, has got like high testosterone, like lifting. You're just like, no, fuck you. I know more than you because I can lift more than you. But it really is the case that
bit of caveman in you.
Yeah, literally. I was like, I'm so much more jacked than you. But yeah, like understanding that if you want to build all these qualities in an athlete, it doesn't come from, like if you see these, great example, you see these guys that are going viral on Instagram at the moment who, there's a CrossFitter guy in Sydney who's gone from elite CrossFit to doing like Ironman triathlons. He's in unbelievable shape. He's not got that way from Ironman triathlons. And people are trying to get like that, and they're like, oh, you do bodybuilding, oh, you do all this endurance training. They're like trying to do everything mixed together at the same time. And it's how you get to having everything all together, whether that is for a mountain bike, if you're being, fast, powerful, strong on the bike, really good for durability all days, have high sprint performance. That doesn't come down to throwing everything in there all together. It comes from being like, what do I need right now? Go through testing, see where you're at after, build an athlete profile. Where do I suck? Like maybe my top end watts are crap. My FTP is just through the floor, but I'm like pretty powerful. Right, I know exactly where I need to work. This first block is going to be this thing. I'm going to focus on this one thing. That's going to make your life so much easier than if you're doing back squats one day, going really heavy with like a 5x5, doing some upper body bench press, doing 2 plyometric sessions, doing a couple like there's loads of people being like, you need to get at least 8 hours zone 2 a week to be like enduro fit. People will see that and then, I need to do squats. I need to do this. I need to do this. And then their week program, I've had loads of lads message me, be like, can you look over my week program? And it's just like, bro, that's everything you need to do in a year in 1 week. And it's like, just strip it back. Just build one thing at a time. Build your base, build some general strength, and then go into a lot of the fast, explosive, powerful stuff. And that's how you get elite. Just doing, once again, staying disciplined to the program, doing the same thing over an incredibly long period of time. And not getting bored. I think that's it. Just understanding that that's what it takes. And if you can do that, like you will eventually get way faster than everyone else that has just got shiny object syndrome, messing around with mountain bike specific exercises, or just fucking around and changing program all the time. Like that is, that should be my only piece of content that I ever post over and over again. But that will not get views on Instagram. Yeah. Over me bashing, well, actually, I guess it's still bashing most people's, but over me saying like, here's the most like mountain bike specific bench press, or here's why this small tiny little problem or whatever. Train some dorsiflexion in your ankle so you hold a slightly better position. It's like, no, just that stuff has a time and a place, but stick to the boring thing that's thought out over time that actually builds you as an athlete.
Last quick fire question: looking back at 21-year-old Sam, what's one mistake you made you wish someone warned you about?
Just listen to other people more. There's so many. I for business, for training, like just having someone there to actually go over. It's just having a coach, having a mentor. I was so boneheaded I wouldn't for ages. I think that's why I'm so passionate about it now, is I know how many gains I left on the table and how much more I could have done. And I was living in that train everything all the time, not ever leave anything off the table. Like I hated the fact that I wasn't doing enough bodybuilding, or I wasn't doing enough strength stuff, or at the time when I was doing my strength sports, like I wanted everything. I'd chase everything and I'd be knackered all the time. And I got some good numbers, but the stronger you get, the fitter you get, the more damage you can do to yourself. And I ended up just completely cooking myself from just going in and just, if I didn't clean and jerk at least like 110, that's like a failed session. And that's max at the time being like 130, like you're well over 80%, like for most of my sessions, and just destroying myself. And I think just in general, just with business, with everything, like you just do not know everything, and just being okay with like getting stuck into the process of being crap at stuff. Like I think that's another thing, that you don't need to be perfect for everything, especially with training. Like I was so desperate to nail everything, and I was like, I know best, but you just don't. And like just allow other people to give you advice, and then just allow yourself to just fail forward at it in just do your best each day to, sounds so cheesy, to just do the thing that you're wanting to do.
Yeah. Banging. So now the signature ending. So for the end of the podcast, what I like to do is ask 3 questions. The main one is, what are things everyone listening can do tomorrow to improve their performance by 1%?
Just write down what you're doing, like what you're actually doing. I think a lot of people don't observe what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's with their, their work or whatever they're doing with their training. Like if you just actually, I'm tracking my calories at the moment. I've been saying for the longest time, like I want to be really strong relative to body weight, and obviously for my mile time, my running goals that I've got at the moment, and even fitness on the bike, going to be a bit kinder to my bike being lighter. But I've struggled so long just to cut down another 3 kilos, and I've just been like, I'm just going to, be in a deficit, do this, wing it, whatever. And I've just kind of stayed the same for the last few months, and it's wound me up so much that I'm just writing down all of my calories in my notes every single day. I'm doing the same with what I'm doing with work, so I actually know how much work that I've done. And it's so small, but you're just observing what you're doing, because I've had, for the longest time, meltdowns over, oh gosh, business isn't where I want it to be, content sucks, this sucks, whatever, training sucks, and I don't have any feedback over any of it. So I think just at the end of the day, just write down whatever it is you're going for with whatever goal, just write down what you've actually done towards it to just track it. And then you'll just observe what you're actually doing, and everyone's ego kind of keeps them in check a little bit, or not necessarily, it doesn't keep them in check enough. Like you'll just be like, yeah, I'm working hard, but like you're probably leaving a lot on the table and you just don't know it. So end of the day, write down what you've done, and give it a little review. Banging.
The second question is, well, I'll get you to write this down, but it's, what's one question you'd like me to ask my next guest? So I'll get you to write that down, and then I'll ask my next guest for that. And then the final bit is, where can people find you?
Sam.MTB Fit Academy on Instagram. And then YouTube, I'm starting to post stuff out too. So you can hop on that. It's Sammy Taylor with 2 M's, 3 Y's. It's still my like old Instagram name.
Sammy Taylor, 2 M's, 3 Y's.
Yeah, and then I've also got an email list. So if you go into my account on Instagram, there's an email list. You can go in there, and there's loads of training tips, little freebies in there as well for people to get after if you're into training, if you're into mountain biking. Even if you're not a mountain biker, there's a lot of stuff that you might find a lot of value from in there. So
definitely check that out.
There we go.
Yeah, so thank you very much
first
for
podcast.
being my
Cheers,
first guest. And I hope people learned something. If you like the podcast, make sure you follow along, like it, follow it, share it. And hopefully I'll get another guest on next week or in the next few weeks.
Let's go.